Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Nightfall, watching the stars bend and twist around his ship. The dark matter engines hummed softly beneath his feet, pushing the vessel through space at speeds that would have been impossible just 5 years ago. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, monitoring the strange energy readings that came with traveling through dark matter streams. "Commander, we're getting a priority transmission from Earth," said Lieutenant Kate Johnson from the communication station. Her voice carried a note of concern that made Morrison turn around immediately. "Put it through to my ready room," Morrison said. He walked quickly across the bridge, his boots clicking on the metal floor. The door slid shut behind him as he activated the secure communication link. Admiral Lisa Carter's face appeared on the screen, but she looked different than usual. Her normally calm expression was tight with worry, and Morrison could see the stress lines around her eyes. "Jake, we have a problem," Carter said without any greeting. "A big one. The Galactic Council has sent us an ultimatum." Morrison felt his stomach drop. The Galactic Council was something humanity had only learned about 3 months ago, when their deep space scouts had made contact with alien traders. The traders had been shocked to learn that humans existed without Council permission. "What kind of ultimatum?" Morrison asked. Carter's image flickered as the transmission adjusted. "They want us to appear before them at their capital within 30 standard galactic days. We have to answer for what they call unauthorized expansion and technological violations." "And if we refuse?" "Complete annihilation of the human race," Carter said flatly. "They've done it before to other species who didn't follow their rules." Morrison sat down heavily in his chair. Through the small window in his ready room, he could see the swirling patterns of dark matter energy outside. Humanity had thought they were alone in the galaxy for so long. Now they learned they were surrounded by aliens who wanted to destroy them. "Admiral, what do we know about this council?" Morrison asked. "I'm sending Dr. Amanda Brooks to brief you and your crew. She's our best expert on alien cultures. But Jake, there's something else. We think this is about our dark matter technology." Morrison nodded slowly. The dark matter breakthrough had changed everything for humanity. Ships that used to take months to travel between star systems could now make the journey in days. Weapons that used dark matter could strike targets that regular weapons couldn't touch. It had given humans an advantage they never expected to have. "The Council has ruled the galaxy for thousands of years," Carter continued. "They control which species get to develop new technology and which ones stay primitive. No one has ever challenged them successfully." "Until now," Morrison said quietly. "Maybe. That's what we're going to find out. I'm ordering you to return to Earth immediately. We're assembling the entire dark matter fleet." Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. The entire fleet meant all 7 dark matter ships that humanity had built. It was everything they had. "All 7 ships, Admiral?" "All 7. If we're going to face the Council, we're going in with everything we've got." The transmission ended, leaving Morrison alone with his thoughts. He stared out the window at the strange beauty of dark matter space, knowing that this might be one of the last peaceful moments he would have for a long time. 2 hours later, Dr. Amanda Brooks arrived on the Nightfall via emergency shuttle. She was a small woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. Morrison gathered his senior staff in the main briefing room to hear what she had to say. "The Galactic Council consists of 12 alien species," Brooks began, activating a holographic display. "They call themselves the Eternal Rulers, and they've controlled galactic civilization for over 10,000 years. The display showed images of strange alien beings, some that looked like giant insects, others that seemed to be made of living crystal. All of them looked ancient and powerful. "How do they control so many species?" asked Captain Ryan Stone, Morrison's second in command. "Fear and systematic suppression," Brooks replied. "Any species that shows signs of rapid technological development gets a visit from the Council. They either submit to Council authority or they disappear entirely." Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Brown, the ship's tactical officer, leaned forward. "What kind of weapons do they have?" "That's the strange part," Brooks said. "From what our scouts observed, their technology seems old. Very old. Their ships are large and numerous, but they don't appear to be more advanced than what we had 50 years ago. Morrison frowned. If their technology is so outdated, how have they maintained control for so long? Numbers, Brooks answered. They have thousands of ships and millions of soldiers from subject species who serve them. They've never had to face a species with technology like ours. Dr. Patricia Wells, the ship's chief scientist, spoke up. The dark matter drives give us a significant advantage in mobility. But what about their weapons? Conventional energy weapons and projectile systems, Brooks said. Nothing that can track or hit a ship in dark matter phase. Morrison felt a spark of hope. The dark matter phase technology was humanity's greatest achievement. When activated, a ship could partially exist in dark matter space, making it nearly impossible to detect or hit with conventional weapons. There's something else, Brooks continued. Our intelligence suggests that many of the species under Council control are not happy with their situation. Some of them might be willing to join us if we can prove that the Council can be defeated. Stone looked at Morrison. That could change everything. If we can get other species to rebel, the Council's numerical advantage disappears. Morrison stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the other ships of humanity's fleet arriving at the rendezvous point. The UES Shadow Strike, the UES Void Runner, the UES Dark Star, and the other vessels that represented humanity's best hope for survival. Dr. Brooks, in your opinion, what are our chances if we go to this meeting? Morrison asked. Brooks was quiet for a moment. Honestly, Commander, I think the Council expects us to surrender immediately. They've never faced a species that had the technology to fight back effectively. We might catch them completely off guard. Morrison turned back to his officers. Then, that's what we'll do. We'll go to their capital and we'll show them that humanity doesn't bow down to tyrants. The room was silent for a moment as everyone absorbed the weight of what Morrison had just said. They were about to take on an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Prepare the fleet for departure to Council space, Morrison ordered. It's time to introduce the Galactic Council to human stubbornness. The human fleet dropped out of dark matter space at the edge of the Nexus Prime system, and every person on every bridge fell silent. Spread before them was a sight that challenged everything they thought they knew about space construction. Nexus Prime hung in the center of the system like a mechanical planet. The artificial construct was easily 100 times larger than Earth's moon, covered in towers that reached into space and ringed with massive docking arms that could hold ships the size of cities. Around it, thousands upon thousands of alien vessels floated in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of the system's twin stars. Commander Morrison stood on the bridge of the Nightfall, watching the tactical displays as his crew tried to count the enemy ships. The numbers kept climbing. Current count is over 8,000 vessels, reported Lieutenant Colonel Brown. And that's just what we can see on the surface scan. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the main screen, transmitted from her flagship. Jake, are you seeing this? Hard to miss it, Admiral, Morrison replied. Looks like they brought everyone to the party. Dr. Patricia Wells looked up from her science station, her face pale. Commander, I'm detecting something strange about those ships. The energy signatures are all wrong. Morrison walked over to her station. What do you mean? Their power systems are incredibly inefficient, Wells said, pointing to the readings on her screen. It's like they're using technology that's hundreds of years old, maybe older. Captain Stone joined them. Could that be some kind of trick? Maybe they're hiding their real capabilities? Wells shook her head. I don't think so. These readings are consistent across their entire fleet. Sir, I think their technology really is as outdated as Dr. Brooks suggested. Morrison felt a mix of relief and confusion. If the alien technology was so primitive, how had they maintained control over the galaxy for so long? A new voice came over the communications system, speaking in heavily accented English. Human vessels, you will follow our escort ships to the designated docking area. Any deviation from the assigned course will be considered an act of aggression. On D, the view screen, a group of sleek alien ships approached the human fleet. They were clearly built for war, with weapon ports visible along their hulls and armor plating that looked like it could withstand serious punishment. Those are Zephyrian ships, said Dr. Brooks, who had remained on the Nightfall to assist with first contact protocols. They serve as the Council's primary enforcement arm, warrior species with a strong honor code. The Zephyrian ships took position around the human fleet, but Morrison noticed something interesting. Instead of treating them like prisoners, the alien ships maintained a respectful escort formation. It was almost like they were being welcomed rather than captured. As they approached Nexus Prime, Morrison could see the incredible detail of the construction. The artificial planet was covered in cities that stretched across continents, connected by bridges that spanned oceans. Ships moved constantly between the surface and orbit, carrying goods and passengers from across the galaxy. "Look at the diversity," Dr. Brooks said with wonder in her voice. "I can identify at least 30 different species just from the ship designs. This is the center of galactic civilization." The human fleet was directed to a docking area near what appeared to be a government district. The buildings there were taller and more ornate than the rest, covered in symbols that probably represented the 12 council species. A Zephyrian officer appeared on their communication screen. She was tall and lean, with scaled skin that shifted, color in the light. Her voice was deep and measured when she spoke. "I am High Commander Zara of the Zephyrian Defense Force. I will escort your diplomatic party to the council chambers. Your fleet will remain here under our protection." Morrison noticed the word choice. Protection, not guard. It suggested the Zephyrians saw themselves as keeping the humans safe rather than keeping them prisoner. Admiral Carter selected her diplomatic team carefully. Dr. Brooks would serve as cultural advisor, Dr. Helen Price would handle translation duties, and Captain Stone would represent military interests. Morrison would remain with the fleet in case anything went wrong. As the diplomatic team prepared to leave, Dr. Wells came to Morrison with more troubling news. "Commander, I've been analyzing the energy patterns from Nexus Prime itself. The entire construct is powered by technology that should have failed centuries ago. It's like they built this place and then stopped innovating completely." Morrison frowned. "That doesn't make sense. How do you maintain an empire without technological progress?" "You don't," Wells said quietly. "You just prevent anyone else from making progress either." The diplomatic team boarded a shuttle and departed for the council chambers. Morrison watched them go, knowing that the next few hours would determine the fate of humanity and possibly the entire galaxy. High Commander Zara met the human diplomats at the entrance to the council building. Up close, she was even more impressive than on the screen. Her armor was clearly ceremonial but functional, and she carried herself with the bearing of someone who had seen many battles. "Your species interests me," Zara said to Admiral Carter, as they walked through corridors lined with statues of alien beings. "In all my years serving the Council, I have never seen ships move the way yours do." Dr. Price, who had been studying Zephyrian language patterns, responded carefully. "Our technology is different from what the Council uses." Zara stopped walking and looked at her directly. "Different how?" Admiral Carter decided to take a risk. "We learned to harness dark matter. It allows us to travel and fight in ways that conventional technology cannot match." Zara's scales shifted to a deeper green color, which Dr. Brooks recognized as a sign of intense interest among her species. "The Council teaches that such technology is impossible," Zara said slowly. "They have forbidden research into dark matter, manipulation for over 1,000 years. "Why?" asked Captain Stone. Zara looked around nervously, as if checking for listeners. "Because it would change the balance of power. The Council maintains control by ensuring that no species becomes too advanced. But if what you say is true..." She didn't finish the sentence, but her meaning was clear. If humans had developed technology that the Council couldn't control or counter, everything would change. They reached the entrance to the Council chambers, a massive door that rose over 100 feet into the air. Ancient symbols covered its surface, telling the story of the Council's rise to power thousands of years ago. "Admiral Carter," Zara said quietly, just before the doors opened. "Whatever happens in there, know that not all of us are content with the way things are." The doors swung open, revealing a chamber so vast that its ceiling disappeared into shadow. 12 massive thrones sat arranged in a circle, each one occupied by an alien being that radiated age and power. The air itself seemed heavy with the weight of centuries. Admiral Carter straightened her uniform and walked forward into the chamber, her small human delegation following behind her. Above them, the 12 beings that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years looked down with expressions that mixed curiosity and contempt. The trial of humanity was about to begin. The council chamber fell completely silent as Admiral Carter and her team walked across the polished floor toward the center of the vast room. Their footsteps echoed in the enormous space, each sound seeming tiny beneath the towering alien thrones. The 12 beings that made up the Galactic Council were unlike anything the humans had imagined. Some were clearly biological, with features that suggested they had once been living creatures like humans. Others appeared to be made of energy or crystal, their forms shifting and glowing as they moved. All of them radiated an aura of incredible age and power. The largest of the council members, a being that looked like it was carved from living stone, spoke first. Its voice came not from its mouth, but from speakers built into the chamber walls, translated into perfect English. Humans of the species called Earthborn, you stand accused of crimes against galactic order. You will hear the charges against your kind and respond accordingly. Admiral Carter stood straight and tall, showing no fear despite being surrounded by the representatives of an empire that ruled trillions of beings across the galaxy. We are here to listen, she said simply. Another council member, this one appearing to be made of shifting blue light, activated a holographic display in the center of the room. Images appeared showing human ships and settlements that had been established in recent years. The first charge, unauthorized expansion beyond designated boundaries. Your species has established colonies and outposts in 17 star systems without seeking permission from this council. Dr. Brooks whispered quickly to Admiral Carter. Those are systems we thought were empty. No signs of intelligent life. The main Stone being continued speaking. The second charge, development of prohibited technologies. Your species has created and deployed weapons and propulsion systems that violate council regulations regarding technological advancement. A third council member, one that looked like a massive insect with crystalline wings, added its voice. The third charge, refusal to submit to proper authority upon first contact with council representatives. Your species was instructed to halt all expansion and report for evaluation. You ignored these commands. Captain Stone leaned close to Admiral Carter. They're treating us like we're already their subjects. Admiral Carter stepped forward. We would like to respond to these charges. The stone being made a sound that might have been laughter. You may speak, but understand that the outcome has already been determined. We have dealt with thousands of species over the millennia. The pattern is always the same. What pattern is that? Admiral Carter asked. A new voice joined the conversation, coming from a council member that appeared to be made of living metal. Young species develop beyond their designated limits. They believe they are special, that they deserve to expand freely across the galaxy. We correct this misconception. The holographic display changed to show images of alien worlds, but these were clearly dead planets. Cities lay in ruins, their surfaces blackened by some terrible weapon. These are the worlds of species that refuse to accept their proper place in the galactic order. The metal being continued. The Kethmaran developed advanced spaceflight without permission. The Veltar created weapons that could threaten council authority. The Zindari attempted to form alliances with other subject species. Dr. Brooks felt sick as she realized what she was seeing. These weren't just destroyed cities. They were extinct civilizations. Entire species had been wiped out for the crime of being too successful. All of them thought they were different, the insect being said. All of them believed their technology made them special. All of them were wrong. Admiral Carter looked up at the 12 thrones, her face set in determination. And what exactly is our proper place supposed to be? The blue light being pulsed brighter. Surrender all dark matter technology to council control. Submit to technological oversight and limitation. Relocate your population to designated reservation. Worlds where your development can be properly monitored. And if we refuse? Admiral Carter asked. Then you join the extinct species whose worlds you have just seen, the stone being replied without any emotion. Captain Stone couldn't stay quiet any longer. You're talking about enslaving the entire human race. The metal being turned its attention to him. Enslavement is an incorrect term. We provide order. We prevent chaos. We ensure that no species becomes powerful enough to threaten the stability of galactic civilization. Dr. Price, who had been quietly analyzing the conversation patterns, spoke up. How long has it been since the Council itself developed new technology? The question seemed to catch the Council members off guard. There was a long pause before the stone being answered. The Council has achieved technological perfection. We have no need for further development. That's not what I asked, Dr. Price pressed. When was the last time you created something new? Another pause. Longer this time. Dr. Brooks realized that Dr. Price had hit on something important. The Council didn't just prevent other species from advancing, they had stopped advancing themselves. Admiral Carter seized the moment. You haven't created anything new in thousands of years, have you? You've been living off the same old technology while preventing everyone else from surpassing you. The insect being's wings buzzed angrily. We have maintained order for 10,000 years. We have prevented wars and chaos. You've prevented progress, Admiral Carter replied firmly. You've turned the galaxy into a museum where nothing is allowed to change or grow. The stone being rose from its throne, towering over the human delegation. Enough. Your species will submit to Council authority or be destroyed. There are no other options. Admiral Carter looked up at the massive alien without flinching. Then, you clearly don't understand humans very well. She activated her communicator, broadcasting on an open channel that would reach every ship in the system. This is Admiral Lisa Carter of Earth. The Galactic Council has just threatened to exterminate humanity unless we surrender our freedom and technology to them. They've shown us the destroyed worlds of species who refuse to submit to their tyranny. The Council members began speaking rapidly among themselves in languages that Dr. Price's translators couldn't process quickly enough. As a representative of the human race, Admiral Carter continued, I formally reject the authority of this Council over Earth and all human settlements. We will not surrender our technology, we will not relocate to reservation worlds, and we will not submit to alien oversight of our development. The chamber erupted in alien voices as the Council members realized what was happening. No species had ever publicly defied them in their own chambers. Admiral Carter raised her voice over the chaos. Humanity chooses freedom over security, progress over stagnation, and growth over submission. If that means war, then we'll fight for our right to exist as free beings. The stone being's voice boomed through the chamber. You have just condemned your entire species to extinction. Activate the fleets, destroy every human ship, and prepare to sterilize every human world. Alarms began blaring throughout Nexus Prime as the massive Council fleet prepared for battle. Outside the chamber, High Commander Zara listened to the human admiral's declaration with growing amazement. In 10,000 years, no one had ever stood up to the Council like this. Admiral Carter turned to her team. I hope Morrison and the fleet are ready. We're about to find out if human technology is really as advanced as we think it is. Through the chamber's massive windows, they could see the lights of thousands of alien ships beginning to move toward the small human fleet. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin, and it would determine whether humanity would survive as a free species or join the long list of extinct civilizations that had dared to challenge the Council's absolute power. The moment of truth had arrived. Commander Morrison watched the tactical display as thousands of Council ships began moving toward his small fleet. The numbers were overwhelming. 8,000 alien vessels against 7 human ships. By every logical calculation, this should be a massacre. All ships, this is Morrison, he broadcast on the fleet command frequency. You heard the Admiral's transmission. The Council wants to wipe out humanity, but they're about to learn why that's a very bad idea. Prepare for dark matter combat protocols. Captain Stone's voice came through on a private channel from his ship, the UES Dark Star. Jake, even with our advantages, those are still incredible odds. Morrison smiled grimly as he watched the alien fleet spread into attack formation. Ryan, remember what happened when we tested the dark matter phase systems against our own conventional weapons? Our guns couldn't even track the phased ships, let alone hit them, Stone replied, understanding beginning to color his voice. Exactly. And these aliens are using technology that's centuries behind what we had before the dark matter breakthrough. Dr. Wells looked up from her science station. Commander, I'm reading massive energy buildups across the Council fleet. They're charging weapon systems. Morrison nodded to Lieutenant Colonel Brown. Marcus, initiate fleet-wide dark matter phase. Let's disappear. The human ships shimmered and seemed to become translucent as their dark matter generators activated, full phase mode. On the Council ships, targeting sensors that had been locked onto the human vessels suddenly lost all contact. Fleet is fully phased, Commander, Brown reported. We're invisible to their sensors. The first wave of alien weapons fire lit up space where the human ships had been. Energy beams and projectile weapons struck empty vacuum as thousands of shots missed their targets completely. Morrison opened the fleet command channel. All ships, begin attack pattern Delta. Target their command vessels first. The 7 human ships moved through space like ghosts, their dark matter drives allowing them to maneuver in ways that defied conventional physics. They could accelerate instantly in any direction, phase through asteroid fields, and appear behind enemy ships without warning. The UES Nightfall materialized directly behind a massive Council battleship, its dark matter torpedoes already armed and ready. Morrison gave the firing order and the torpedoes launched toward the alien vessel. Unlike conventional weapons, dark matter torpedoes didn't impact the target's hull. Instead, they passed through the outer armor as if it didn't exist, materializing inside the ship's reactor core before detonating. The Council battleship exploded from within, its hull rupturing as the contained explosion tore through its internal structure. Across the battlefield, similar explosions marked the success of the other human ships' attacks. Impossible, came a transmission from one of the alien vessels. How are they striking us without penetrating our shields? Lieutenant Colonel Brown was coordinating the tactical response from his station. Commander, we're getting interesting readings from some of the Council ships. Their formations are starting to break down. Morrison looked at the tactical display and saw that Brown was right. Several groups of alien ships were pulling back from the main attack formation, and some were actually turning away from the battle entirely. What's causing the breakdown? Morrison asked. Dr. Wells checked her sensors. Sir, I'm detecting massive communication traffic between the alien ships. It looks like they're arguing about something. On the Council flagship, panic was spreading among the commanding officers. The alien commanders had never faced an enemy that could strike without being detected, and their traditional tactics were completely useless. High Commander Zara, came a transmission from one of the Zephyrian ships. Our weapons cannot target the human vessels. Request new orders. Zara stood on the bridge of her command ship, watching as another Council battleship exploded from an attack that her sensors couldn't even detect. In her centuries of service, she had never seen anything like this. All Zephyrian ships, she broadcast on her species' private frequency, cease fire and withdraw to defensive positions. Her communications officer looked shocked. High Commander, the Council has ordered us to destroy the humans. Zara's scales shifted to the deep purple color that indicated serious thought among her people. The Council has lied to us about many things. Perhaps they were wrong about the humans as well. Meanwhile, Morrison was receiving reports from his other ships. The UES Shadow Strike had disabled 3 alien cruisers. The UES Void Runner had taken out an entire squadron of Council fighters. The UES Starphase had crippled a massive dreadnought. By materializing inside its bridge, Commander, came Captain Stone's voice over the comm. I'm seeing something interesting. Some of the alien ships are breaking off from the attack. It looks like they're not all committed to this fight. Morrison studied the tactical display more carefully. Stone was right. While thousands of ships were still trying to attack the humans, several hundred had pulled back or stopped firing entirely. Wells, can you identify which species are withdrawing? Morrison asked. Dr. Wells worked quickly at her station. The Zephyrian ships have mostly stopped attacking. So have the crystalline hive vessels and about half of the void swimmer fleet. Dr. Brooks, who was monitoring communications from her position on the bridge, looked up with excitement. Commander, I'm intercepting transmissions between the alien fleets. They're questioning their orders. Some of them are asking why they're fighting for a council that's never shown them the same level of technology the humans possess. Morrison realized they had an opportunity that went far beyond just winning this battle. If some of the council's subject species were already having doubts, maybe humanity could turn this from a war of extermination into a war of liberation. Open a channel to all ships in the system, Morrison ordered. All frequencies, all languages. Lieutenant Johnson worked at her communications station. Channel open, Commander. Morrison took a deep breath and began speaking, knowing that his words would be heard by millions of beings across the fleet. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth. Defense Fleet, we are not your enemies. We came here seeking peaceful contact with galactic civilization, but the Council has decreed that humanity must be destroyed simply because we refuse to surrender our freedom and our technology to them. He paused as Dr. Price transmitted the message in dozens of alien languages simultaneously. For 10,000 years, the Council has prevented your species from reaching your full potential. They have forbidden technological development, suppressed scientific research, and destroyed any civilization that dared to progress beyond the limits they set. On ships throughout the system, alien crews listened to the human commander's words with growing interest. But today we're offering you something the Council never has, the chance to grow beyond those artificial limits. Earth's dark matter technology is not a weapon to be hoarded by the powerful. It's a tool for exploration and discovery that we're willing to share with any species that chooses freedom over oppression. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Across the Council fleet, entire squadrons began breaking away from the attack formation. Ships that had served the Council for centuries suddenly found themselves questioning everything they had been taught about the Galactic Order. On the Council flagship, the ancient beings watched in horror as their empire began to collapse around them. For the first time in 10,000 years, their absolute authority was being challenged not just by one rebellious species, but by the very foundations of their power structure. The battle was far from over, but the tide had already begun to turn. The transformation of the battle happened faster than anyone could have imagined. What had begun as humanity's desperate last stand was becoming something entirely different, a galactic revolution. Commander Morrison watched his tactical display as more and more alien ships broke away from the Council's attack formation. The Zephyrian fleet had completely stopped firing on the humans. The crystalline hive vessels were forming their own defensive group. Even some ships from the more loyal Council species were beginning to question their orders. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from High Commander Zara, reported Lieutenant Johnson. Morrison nodded. Put her through. Zara's scaled face appeared on the main screen, and Morrison could see determination in her alien features. Commander Morrison, I request permission to dock with your vessel. There are matters we must discuss. Permission granted, Morrison replied immediately, within the hour. Zara was standing on the bridge of the Nightfall, her ceremonial armor gleaming under the ship's lights. She moved with the fluid grace of a born warrior, but her eyes held the wisdom of someone who had served in the galaxy's military forces for decades. Your species has done something that I thought was impossible, Zara said without preamble. You have made the Council afraid. Dr. Brooks stepped forward. High Commander, what exactly is the Council afraid of? Zara's scales shifted to a thoughtful green color. Change, progress, the possibility that their subjects might realize the Council is not invincible. She paused, looking at the humans around her. For 1,000 years, my people have served the Council faithfully. We believe their teachings that rapid technological advancement led to chaos and destruction. And now? Morrison asked. Now I have seen what true advanced technology can accomplish. Your ships move through space like living things. Your weapons strike without being detected. Yet you do not use this power to conquer or destroy. You use it to offer hope to oppressed species. Captain Stone, who had arrived from his own ship, joined the conversation. The Council's technology has been stagnant for centuries, hasn't it? Zara nodded slowly. The great secret that only the highest-ranking military officers know is that the Council stopped innovating long ago. They maintain power through numbers and fear, not through superior technology. When they encounter a species that threatens their dominance, they destroy it before word can spread to other subject races. Morrison felt pieces of a vast puzzle clicking into place. That's why they were so quick to order our extermination. If other species learned that the Council could be challenged successfully, their entire empire would collapse. Exactly, Zara confirmed. But your Admiral's public declaration of independence, broadcast across the system, has already begun that collapse. Half the fleet is in open revolt. As if to confirm her words, Lieutenant Colonel Brown looked up from his station with a report. Commander, I'm tracking massive defections from the Council forces. Current estimates show less than 4,000 ships still loyal to the Council, and that number is dropping every hour. Morrison made a decision that would change galactic history. Zara, can you help us coordinate with the rebelling fleets? We need to make sure this revolution succeeds. It would be my honor, Zara replied, her scales shifting to the deep blue color that indicated fierce joy among her people. Meanwhile, in the Council chambers on Nexus Prime, the 12 ancient beings were facing a crisis unlike anything in their long history. Admiral Carter and her diplomatic team remained in the chamber, now effectively hostages, but the Admiral seemed oddly calm for someone whose species was supposedly facing extinction. You seem remarkably confident for someone whose fleet is vastly outnumbered, the stone being said to Admiral Carter. Carter smiled. That's because you still don't understand what you're dealing with. Humanity doesn't just fight with superior technology. We fight with superior ideas. The insect being's wings buzzed with agitation. Ideas cannot defeat battleships. Can't they? Carter asked. Right now, your own subjects are abandoning you because they've heard a better idea. The idea that they don't have to live under your oppression forever. The Metal Council member activated a communication system. All loyal forces, ignore the human propaganda. Destroy the rebels along with the human fleet. But fewer and fewer ships responded to the Council's orders. The rebellion was spreading, faster than the ancient beings could contain it. Back on the Nightfall, Morrison was coordinating with rebel fleet commanders from dozens of different species. Dr. Price was working overtime to manage translations as alien officers contacted the human ships to offer their assistance. Commander, came a transmission from a crystalline hive ship. Our collective wishes to join your alliance. We offer our biotechnology expertise in exchange for access to dark matter research. Morrison looked at Dr. Wells, who nodded enthusiastically. Their biotechnology could accelerate our own development by decades, Commander. Welcome to the Free Species Alliance, Morrison replied, making up the name on the spot but liking how it sounded. Similar conversations were taking place across the rebel fleet as species that had been kept apart by Council policies began forming new partnerships and sharing knowledge freely. The final confrontation came when the Council made their last, desperate gambit. Deep within Nexus Prime, ancient weapons systems that hadn't been activated in millennia began powering up. The Council was preparing to use planet-killing weapons against the rebel fleet, regardless of the cost to their own loyal forces. Morrison detected the massive energy buildup on his sensors. Wells, what am I looking at? Dr. Wells's face went pale. Commander, that's a stellar ignition weapon. They're going to turn this system's star into a supernova. It will kill everything within 50 light years. Morrison realized the Council was willing to destroy billions of their own subjects rather than lose power. It was the ultimate expression of their tyranny. If they couldn't rule the galaxy, they would burn it down. All ships, emergency jump preparation, Morrison broadcast. We have minutes before— Wait, interrupted Zara. Commander, your ships can phase into dark matter space, correct? Can you take other vessels with you? Morrison looked at Dr. Wells, who was already running calculations. Theoretically, yes. We could create dark matter fields large enough to phase an entire fleet. Then we don't run, Morrison decided. We end this. The human fleet moved into position around Nexus Prime while the stellar weapon continued charging. Instead of fleeing, Morrison ordered his ships to begin the largest dark matter field generation ever attempted. All human vessels begin synchronized field generation. We're taking this entire construct into dark matter phase. The 7 human ships worked in perfect coordination, their dark matter generators creating overlapping fields that slowly expanded to encompass the massive artificial planet. As the field took hold, Nexus Prime itself began to phase, becoming translucent and shimmering. "Morrison, what are you doing?" came Admiral Carter's voice from the council chambers. "Something that's never been tried before, Admiral. We're taking the council's capital out of normal space. Their weapon can't ignite the star if the firing mechanism doesn't exist in the same dimension as the target." The plan worked. As Nexus Prime phased completely into dark matter space, the stellar weapon lost its targeting lock. The ancient device powered down harmlessly, its 10,000-year reign of terror ended by human ingenuity. In the council chambers, the 12 ancient beings found themselves trapped in a space that flickered between dimensions. They had become prisoners of the very species they had tried to destroy. Admiral Carter stood before their thrones with authority now instead of supplication. "The age of the Galactic Council is over. The galaxy belongs to all species now, free to grow and develop without artificial limits." Over the following months, the transformation of galactic civilization accelerated beyond anyone's expectations. Species that had been kept primitive by council decree shared their knowledge freely with humanity and each other. Technologies that had been suppressed for millennia emerged from hiding. The Free Species Alliance grew rapidly as more civilizations chose cooperation over domination. Humanity's dark matter technology became the foundation for a new era of exploration and discovery, with human engineers working alongside alien scientists to push the boundaries of what was possible. Commander Morrison, now promoted to Admiral of the Alliance Fleet, stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt Nexus Prime watching ships from hundreds of species coming and going in peaceful trade and cooperation. "Did we do the right thing?" asked Captain Stone, now his second in command for the entire Alliance fleet. Morrison smiled as he watched a human cargo ship docking next to a Zephyrian science vessel, their crews preparing to share discoveries that would have been impossible. "Under Council rule, Ryan, we gave the galaxy back its future. I'd say that's about as right as it gets." The Galactic Council had collapsed not because of humanity's weapons or technology, but because of something far more powerful. The simple idea that all intelligent beings deserved the freedom to reach their full potential. And that idea, once released, had proven impossible for any tyrant to contain.